I would not be very keen to immediately buy into it. Of course, on intraday dips, we'll explore buying. But for the time being, I think trade with stock-specific biases. And early in the day, we had spoken about Infosys, but Jubilant Food, as you were highlighting right now, I think can be bought with a stop below 3,400 and look for targets of around 3,600, slightly position kind of a call.
Okay, Mitesh, thanks a lot for those trades. Have a good day. Tushar Pradhan, the CIO at HSBC Global Asset Management, is now joining us. Tushar, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Tushar, how are you approaching this market? It's been relentless. There have been a couple of shakeouts in the last 1 month or so, mainly on inflation concerns, but largely it's been smooth run. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you'll continue to get these sentiment, I would say, dampeners along the way. Clearly, because the valuations on the probably the more visible earnings forward are still at an all-time high. And that's why any kind of bad news gets you this kind of reaction. But I think overall, one has to emphasize the fact that the earnings growth, whichever way you look at it, boosted by either the change in tax laws, the increase in margins, the pent-up demand, whatever you want to say, even if from a base effect, it appears to be there is a very strong momentum on corporate earnings. So to kind of push the market down on any other reason, will be short-lived because the earnings as they come through will clearly indicate a much more robust environment. However, saying that, I'm not discounting the fact that there are risks, but I think this is something what we should expect in the near future at least.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Tushar, and thanks for joining us. My question is actually an extension of what Anuj has been asking you. Zomato at 11 times sales kind of shocked us, and if it lists at 3 figures, 100, which the grey market premium indicates it will, then perhaps we are looking at probably 12 times or 13 times sales. Now, that is put into, that pales when you look at the way in which a Korean bank has listed, the market cap looking like the GDP of Korea. I mean, can we ignore these risks? Because central bankers like the ECB only said yesterday that they're going to keep the tap open, or do you think we should change the nature of the stocks we bet on?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very pertinent question, and I think it's a question which has led to a lot of introspection with many investors, globally as well as in India. And I think one thing needs to kind of be highlighted, that the markets are not necessarily rational in the short term. And especially when you get strong momentum behind you, and this time the momentum is backed by a significant array of factors. One is a fiscal boost across the world. The second is the monetary boost across the world. The third is, very sharp drop in demand, what we've seen in the last year, which means there is an expectation of, a demand coming back, which means on a YOY basis, everything will look fantastic. Inflation seems to be the only worry, but that is led by these growth factors. It has nothing to do really with overheating. It has just to do with the base effect itself. And then going forward, we appear to have come to a plateau where we say, well, vaccination is the way out of this problem. It is a matter of time when we get most of the world's population vaccinated. And then we are back to, a significant period of growth. So I think these are the factors one should not ignore. When you don't ignore them, and with the available liquidity in the business, in the system being so high, it is very natural that markets will reach this kind of craziness. And how long will this craziness last is really the question to ask. So very logical answer to your question is like, look, in any given time, this appears to be pretty crazy. But how long are we going to remain here? And remember, the professional investors don't have the choice of going away and taking a holiday. Every day in the markets is a relative performance, and we've got to keep in touch with where the markets are. If you go away, there is serious risk of underperformance if the market continues in momentum. And markets have known to continue momentum both on the way up as well as the way down, way past the rational valuation. So I think the question really is not whether this is good or bad, whether this is something we should be worried about or not. Yes, we should be worried about, but I think it is more of a portfolio decision. How much do you risk at this point of time versus what you were willing to risk maybe 6 months ago or even a year ago? I think that's really what is the conclusion I draw. And the more diversified your portfolio is, the more rational you appear to be in the face of what's happening right now, I think will carry you through these difficult times.
Okay, by the way, the mid-cap IT stocks are on fire. Not just Mphasis, which is up 10%, post its numbers. Persistent Systems posted strong numbers, up 7%. Something like a Tanla Platforms is doing very well, 4% higher, big volumes there. Root Mobile, the entire list of momentum movers are peppered with mid-cap IT stocks. Tushar, good morning. Before I talk a little more about some of these pockets, I wanted your thoughts on the big event later in the evening, which is Reliance Industries numbers. Although you may not want to comment specifically on the stock, is there anything that the management can say in terms of commentary on big tech, on their latest acquisitions, on the retail space, which can drive the the stock or even the sector higher in the near term?
Well, I think I think just the normal discussion in terms of what their outlook is going to be enough this time, because remember, if any company comes to announce its earnings, it's always with a backdrop, and this time the backdrop is pretty significant in terms of where the momentum is, where the stock markets are, where the expectation of earnings is likely to be. So I think more or less, well-researched stocks such as that is not going to provide any surprises in the earnings. But it will probably, give some indication of what the future lies ahead for us. And I think they already have made a fairly big announcement sometime back in terms of the green initiative that they want to take. And I think this is something which is close to our thought process when it comes to global investing, that the world economy is moving towards what we call as a mission economy, which means that it is going to be driven by a green mission. So the past cyclicality in terms of the dollar oil equation and how the whole world used to go forward, I think may undergo a significant change if we move away from the traditional energy resource oriented economy to go more into what is, the mission economy, as we call it. So I think all of these are linked to, what's going to happen. I would still not have too much emphasis on any one announcement at any point of time for any company. It's a big weight, but I think it's more or less discounted in terms of what to expect on these announcements. If there is anything which surprises all of us, then we'll all look forward to it.
Okay, so, just extending that, what's your view in general on the commodity stocks, since you're referring to this aspect? Metals, for example, do you reckon we are in a super cycle? Do you invest more here? What's the view?
Well, I would be careful about the word super cycle, because the last super cycle was really driven by China. The kind of consumption that Chinese companies and the entire area, the region actually did for a significant period of time. And I'm talking about way beyond a normal cycle. So that's why we call it a super cycle. I don't think there is demand at that level to, kind of sustain a super cycle right now, because we all know that while there has been a lack of demand, there is really no shortage of supply anywhere in the world, which means that the capacities seem very robust at this time. So I think to bet on a super cycle may be a little stretching the envelope a little bit, but I would still think that there is enough pent-up demand to drive commodities a little further, though not too way away from the averages. We've already seen some all-time highs in some of the commodity prices, so there should be some reason to kind of temper it. We also know that they drive inflation. And, at some point of time, the monetary authorities, the fiscal authorities will make sure, these runaway price mechanisms can be controlled in some way. So the case in point was in China, for example, when there was a shortage, or let's say an induced reduction of production that led to significant price rises for steel price, there was an intervention, and they brought the steel prices down very dramatically. So I think that is the reason to remain a little wary. There doesn't seem to be any indicator which tells us that there is going to be a super cycle. However, there will be a normal cycle coming up, and that's in line with the estimates for global growth. So I would stay with that view.
Okay. Maybe this is how investors want to ask you a question, Tushar. We're all worrying about the excessive liquidity, and you gave us your prescription for it. Do you have any advice on asset allocation because we are tackling massive liquidity? Or if you're not going to that, within this equity universe itself, what would the division be? Would you put some money in global stocks? Would you put some money in this new startups? What would the percentage allocations be?
That's another interesting question because from an asset allocation perspective, it's even more interesting because you tend to allocate across assets depending on the estimated return from that asset class. So the expectation of returns drive your allocation vis-a-vis the risk that that asset class actually represents and the valuation at which these asset classes today are. Now, if you look at relative valuation, if you look at fixed income, for example, what is the alternative? What is it that you're going to allocate if not to equity? Fixed interest and fixed income is likely to remain fairly low for long. And I think that is something for the health of the overall economy. So your alternative to go into asset allocating out of equities into fixed income should come with that expectation that those assets will give you very, very low returns, even lower than average that is expected in that asset class. The other asset classes which open up, real estate, gold, I think those then become a lot more confusing in terms of the average returns. I think returns in real estate as an asset class across the world have been fairly muted. However, yields globally are very high. In India, the situation is very confusing in both because, of course, it's not an easy asset to diversify to. So if I start looking at that entire allocation, I will come to the conclusion that equities from at least a 3 to 4 year term, at least, I think continues to remain very attractive because over this time, you may not get significant returns in the other asset classes. However, the other question you have asked is, what is the relative risk of over allocating to equity? Obviously, is the volatility. So which means that if I have to move away and make an asset allocation call, I have to accept lower returns. So this lower return world that we should kind of expect is something related to reducing your risk. So it's not about a return maximization asset allocation, but it is more about reduction of risk. Coming to the equities question, I think clearly, there is plenty to diversify across. There are the large caps which have severely underperformed small caps. So just to give an example, the small cap index on a 1 year rolling period is up about 115%, while the Nifty is up only about 48% only. So you can imagine, where the relative outperformances come from. And if you see that if I have to diversify within the equity basket, I think I will keep a little bit of a lookout for overvaluation in a small and mid cap space. So I should diversify a little bit into the more stronger, larger cap companies, more secure in terms of whatever happens to the economy going forward. And within the sectors, of course, the more economy-related, cyclically stronger financials, IT even to a certain extent, that sort of thing, and the smattering of commodities, industrials. I think that's probably, I would feel safe having such a portfolio.
Okay, Tushar, we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot for joining us and taking us through your views on the markets and how things